August 2001, like most freshmen, I live in the dorms at a state party school. A good buddy from military school, Bill, went to the same college, then lived a few floors below in the same dorm as me. For the most part, the first month or so of college was normal. I went to most of my classes, partied just about every night, chased girls around, and that was enough for the moment. But things began to change one night, sometime in mid-September, and college for me would never be normal again. My dorm phone began ringing in the middle of the night. I answered. Hello. On the other end, I can only really describe the voice as the kind you picture when you think about a computer talking. Kinda like the early model car GPSs.
Hi Gary, how are you today?
Not fully awake, I'm just confused at this point. Who is this?
Hi Gary, how are you today?
It becomes clear that I'm being fucked with, so I hang up and chuckle. Fucking Bill, nice one, I pass out. I end up forgetting about the call for a few days, and never mention it to Bill or anyone else. About a week later, I get another call around the same time of night.
Hi Gary, I'm watching you.
Seriously Bill, how are you not knee-deep in Overclear or Tree Delta at this hour? Enough already. Katie's going to start getting pissed. I then hang up. And by the way, Kate is my roommate at the time. I casually confront my oh-so-clever amigo at breakfast the next morning. He gives a genuinely confused response, like whatever. So a couple of days after that second call, I come home and I see multiple messages on my answering machine. Like what the fuck, I barely knew that thing even worked. My machine cuts off first 1 or 2 seconds of the message, which tells me it's a bot set to play message upon answer.
Hi Gary, I'm watching you. I thought I asked you to answer my calls, Gary.
Then the third message went as follows.
Where might Gary be on a Tuesday night?
The calls start coming in more frequently over the next couple of months, starting at a once a week, then to once every 2 to 3 days, up to every day by Christmas break. Uneventful break, and back to school determined to become a new man. First night back, I get my first spring semester call from CVG.
How is your family in Cyprus?
Okay, now this was starting to mess me up. Calls became threatening and downright dark.
I'm very interested, Gary, in being close to you. I have tools I can bring. It's going to all be over soon.
One day I bring Bill and all my other buddies up to hear the messages. I never deleted a single one for some reason. The guys were shocked. Around March, the calls were coming in no fewer than 10 or 15 every single day. Seriously. But I finally get the message I'd been waiting for. The day, time, location are set.
We will meet in front of Coleman Hall at midnight, Wednesday, 27th April, and we will take our friendship to the next level.
My home team crowd steadily built up throughout the afternoon and evening. I'm left with about 15 to 20 member platoon. I had decided earlier that I was not going to allow all these knuckleheads to shadow me, but I could definitely use them in a case of emergency. I didn't want to risk him spooking out of the meet, so I let them know they will need to stay inside the doors of the common area while I walked out to the meeting spot. About 100 paces out from my spot, I observed 2 things at the same time. One of them was some kind of small quick movement in front of the patio walkway that goes all the way around the building, and 2 was that the movement was in a spot along the walkway where the only normal uber bright bulb is out. I'm not exactly sure how I was able to see him, but I suddenly realized someone is crouched behind one of the contagious cookie cutter bushes outside the patio perimeter against one of the building pillars. In dark clothes and a hoodie, he is a few feet off from the path where I'm supposed to meet him, and positioned to where I really should not have been able to see him, given the pillar blocking any shadow plus the burnt out light. In fact, I could have easily walked all the way to the door without even noticing someone down there. I sort of jump mid-step as this happens, and I see him raise up a little, thinking I might have seen him. I see him raise up and take a step toward me, and fight or flight hits. Before I even realize what I'm doing, I'm in a dead sprint towards this guy, who I'm guessing sees what I can't yet, which is my platoon bursting through the glass doors in hot pursuit. This creep nopes out of there, running on the patio alongside Coleman Hall towards the parking lot. I realize I'm moving fast enough to catch him, but everyone else is really far behind. I also realize I'm moving so fast I won't be protected as I turn hard, right at the corner of the building. If he stops there, I'm toast. As I turn the corner, I see the van sitting alone in the parking lot in front of me. It's running, and brake lights flicker on, then off, parking to drive, and begins inching forward toward the exit. Home Slice is of course heading for the van, which for some reason sent this whole new level of fear into me. This is it. This is really happening. I'm going to get murdered tonight. But I can't stop. Something keeps me moving forward. I guess I'd come this far, dealt with this crazy BS for almost a full year now, completely unable to do anything other than try to ignore it. If I could get close enough to dive tackle, I would still be on my own to deal with the creepster, his driver, and now I realize there's a third one that was manning in the sliding side door. I don't care how badass you think you are when you're a 19-year-old jock. Your chances of taking down 3 grown men that are already violent criminals and prepared to victimize are about 1 to 0. My turn is wide and slow due to being full on sprint, and I lose ground. I'm probably 20 yards from the lot when he does a flying leap into the side of the van. The third guy slams the sliding door shut as the van peels out of the parking lot, bangs a right and gone in an instant. We finally start walking back, and I'm relieving the scene as we retrace our steps. As we get closer to the original meeting spot, I see something that scares me more than anything else in the entire equation has up to this point. On the opposite side of the pillar, where the creepy guy was crouching, there's a video camera sitting on a stand, pointed right at the spot I would have been standing at when I should have not been able to notice him, and it was still recording. A couple of years back when I was in college, I was the victim of a long-term stalker. By the way, I am a male, who was 20 at the time. It started out fairly innocuous. On Valentine's Day, I started to receive secret admirer type text messages from an unknown number. I assumed it was a friend of mine playing a joke, as I was in a room with a handful of tech-savvy people at the time. I tried to gauge their reactions and ask if anyone was messing with me. They all denied it. And I believed them. They're pretty bad liars, by the way. It was further confirmed that it was none of them when I got a phone call from the number. A voice on the other end said,
"Is this?"
I replied, "Yes, who's this?" hoping I could identify the voice. At that point, they hung up and resumed texting. Things started to get weird when the person began asking pretty personal questions, including repeatedly asking, "Are you doing something tonight?" To which I replied yes. I was working. But they kept insisting we should meet up. On top of all this, I was getting various images sent to me from a separate email. This confirmed it wasn't a real number, and I now had a username to connect with the person. I don't know if it was their intention, but I actually enjoyed trying to figure out stuff like this, and took it upon myself to expose this person without giving away anything about myself. So I kept it up. I texted them back for a while and dug more and more information about the person, compiling it into a file and eliminating possibilities. Unfortunately, this encouraged them as they insisted I send pictures. Then they sent a weird one, a white lacy dress hanging in their closet, with the accompanying text, "My white wedding dress for when I marry you," accompanied by various heart and love emojis. They continued to pry about where I was going to be at that evening, and I still refused to give them my details. Then they dropped where they were going to be, a party on the campus that night. I couldn't go regardless, I was working. Then I got another bombshell. They asked if I lived in apartment 68, which I did. I recognized the style of apartment they were in, based on a picture from earlier, so I decided I'd throw a curveball. You live in right? What? How do you know? I recognized your door, I responded. All the trash apartments had the same color door frame, which was visible in the edge of a picture they sent. The conversation kind of fizzled out there. I didn't go to that party and didn't get any more text. Fast forward to October, the following school year. I was a senior and busy as hell. One evening I got a text from an unknown number. Is this? So I played dumb and pretended like I wasn't freaking out. Then after many months, this person was contacting me again and I still hadn't figured out who it was. These questions were instantly more personal and really weirded me out.
Don't ruin the fun. Not knowing who I am is part of the mystery. I won't tell you who I am, not now. Too much to lose. I don't want you to know. Not because I'm being cruel. It's just better if you don't know.
I was getting pretty tired at this point and trying to work, but I do want to see if I can pick out any more details. So I'm doing the bare minimum to keep this going. This is December, the end of the semester. They proceeded to call me multiple times. I denied every call, but they kept coming. I think there were 14 calls that night. I turned my phone off. The following week, I was in the class I TA'd. Students were presenting their final work on the projector, and I had queued multiple tabs on the projection computer. 2 different students had work on Google Drive. When the second student logged into their account, they didn't open a private window, so it logged out the first student. I saw this happen, but the first student wasn't in the room, so when she came back, I asked her to re-log in. We were both standing in a projection booth. She was at one end of the computer, and I was messing with the sound system on the other side, but happened to turn and look at the projector screen when she was logging into Google. This hit me like a ton of bricks. The username she logged in with was the same username as the Text Now account that had been sending me photos. I quickly turned away and pretended to be busy with something until she finished opening her work. I thanked her and she left the booth without realizing her mistake. I tried to play it cool, but inside I was going crazy for the rest of the class. After almost a year, I knew who it was. She finally slipped up, and honestly I was much more scared now than I had ever been. This person had a history of being pretty creepy around my friends, and although she had never personally interacted with me outside of class, all my friends had strange experiences. I made a meeting with the counselor, who seemed to really care and offered to look into it. A couple of weeks later, emailed me saying the student is going abroad next semester, so we're not going to do anything. I insisted that at least something temporary be put in place. They didn't do anything. But what did I expect? The school is pretty notorious for not giving a crap. I didn't run into her again. She hasn't texted me. So for the time being, that is where the story ends.